Hey everybody, it's Carolyn Moor from the Modern Widows Club, and we have a very special story to share today with Aimee and Dawn and their family. They've got Abbi and Aurora and Nevaeh, and I hope I said that right.
Nevaeh.
Nevaeh. Oh, I knew it. See,
Yeah.
see. But hi. but Aimee's a part of Modern Widows Club. She's one of our MWC ladies from our Southern Illinois chapter. And over time, we met each other and been watching each other. And she has a Facebook page called Widowed But Not Abandoned. And I've always loved what she would write. And I think you're a nurse, right? We have that in common. Yep. And we're both Christian women. We have that in common. I know you lost your dad on Valentine's Day, and then you're remarried now. And then this weekend, you had something special called Adoption Day. And we're going to talk about that, but let me say hi, everybody say hello. Just here's Aimee. Hi, Dawn.
Hello.
Here's Abbi.
Abbi.
Hey. Aurora ran off, so.
Okay, she ran off. That's okay, she'll be back. But so they had a very special weekend, and I was like, oh my gosh, I just want to share this story. But Aimee, if you can, just tell us a little bit about your backstory, because most people don't know what your history is and how you became widowed, and just share a little bit.
Yeah, so in 2014, I lost my dad on Valentine's Day. I had a miscarriage that week with my second pregnancy. And then I did get pregnant again. I found out in March. And then in June, on what would have been my dad's birthday, my husband, who was a youth minister, was on his way back from a 2-day mission trip, just 2 hours away from home. And they had a tire blowout on their vehicle, and a semi hit them. And they tried to resuscitate him, but he was essentially dead when they got there. So then I found out that night in the ER, while I was 18 weeks pregnant and had a 16-month-old, that I was widowed. And yeah, it's crazy.
Who was with you? Who was with you when that happened?
So my mom had come with me to the hospital, and then Chris was my husband's name. His mom and dad and grandmother came, and my brother and sister came. But the first 2 people that were there were me with my mom. And so we were the first ones to get the news.
Wow. I'm so glad your mom was there. But what was your mom widowed? No, your mom wasn't widowed.
Yes. 4 months prior.
What?
And this was her husband's birthday. It was my dad's birthday, the day that my husband was killed. So yeah. So this was like, we had gone to the zoo that day. Abbi was my toddler. We took her to the zoo for the first time in St. Louis that day. And we were trying to like make this a happy day, because we were sad that we missed dad. So I was there with my siblings and my mom and Abbi. And then, on our way home from the zoo that night, we got the call that Chris had been in an accident. So my OB doctor was actually the one. I texted him to ask him to pray for our family, because he and I were close. And he asked what I was doing with Abbi that night. And he came to my house wearing his surgical scrubs with a mask hanging off his neck, and still had his hat and booties on, to come pick up my baby for the night, so I could just go to the hospital and not worry about her.
Wow, what a compassionate doctor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's so, after Chad passed away, it's interesting because my GYN, we're so close to our GYNs, right? Because children, and you're there like constantly, they become these really close companions in that journey with you. And same thing, my GYN noticed how depressed I was when I came in for my annual, and as I was having difficulties. I was just getting through that. And wow, but that is amazing. That's above and beyond right there.
Yeah.
That's very special. So here your dad passed away. You had gone through a miscarriage. Now your husband had passed away, and you're pregnant.
Yeah.
And you have a 16-month
Yep.
toddler. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I'm really blown away right now. The amount of secondary losses just around you. What kept you going? What comfort?
Well, my faith in God was number one.
Yeah.
And I knew that Chris had a very, very strong faith too. So I did hold that close to heart that one day I would get to see him again. And I had this image in my mind after I lost my dad, of my dad rocking the baby I miscarried in a rocking chair in heaven.
Wow.
And then when Chris died, I thought about him holding our baby in heaven and rocking that baby while I had these two babies down here. And so a lot of what kept me going too was my kids, because if I hadn't both had a toddler and been pregnant, I think things would have been a lot different. Having Abby meant I had to get up every day. I had to keep my routine.
Right.
I had someone relying on me that I needed to take care of. Plus, she was just the most joyful baby and the most joyful toddler. And she still is just a happy, happy girl. But that helped a lot. And then because I was pregnant, I had to take care of my body.
Right.
I didn't feel like it, but I wanted to take care of that baby in there. And so in order to take care of her, I took care of me and made sure I ate and I drank water. And, I attempted to get sleep. Not that it really worked out well on the sleep front, but pregnancy is already a strike against that. And then you've got the grief.
That's right.
But I did my best.
Up and you have to be alert. I remember my own daughters were 2 and 4, and that motivated me. But I was unable to sleep, and I remember they had, this is what I love about what you said about the doctor, is I had one pre-K teacher who would give me a break one weekend out of the month, and I slept literally from the moment my kids left to the moment they came back, because the amount of lack of sleep just to function, right? Yes. And I think did you have family close by that was there for you?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm close to Chris's mom and Chris's grandparents, and so they were there. Chris's mom would babysit for me and I worked night shift too.
Oh,
and it ended up
was different. You had to sleep during the day normally because you were a night shift nurse. Oh, which is not the normal circadian rhythm of your body.
Right.
So I know that I've done nursing shifts. We have that in common as well.
Yes.
I'm not sure if your body ever really gets used to that.
I loved nights and my body loved nights, but it's a whole different thing when you've got two tiny people at home and you're waking up to breastfeed and you're dropping them off at night sitters and picking them up and taking them to the morning sitter. And, I was meeting myself coming and going, for a while there. But my mom and my, mother-in-law would alternate weekends that I worked of keeping the kids. And they do it at my house. So that made it easier on me. And then I had a friend that I paid that had already been my daytime sitter for me to sleep before Chris died. And so she watched my little girls during the day. And I would sleep in her bedroom, and then she could bring the baby in to breastfeed, and then I could go back to sleep.
Wow. Yeah. That circle of support, I've mentored so many widows, and one of the first things, as far as moms go, we have to talk about creating the circle of support, on auto, speed dial on your phone. And I didn't have any family in Florida. So this immediate need to create this circle of support was really important for me. I'm
Yeah.
so glad to hear that you had your mom's near you, because that was such a blessing, right? Hi.
Yeah.
That
You
was
say
a
hi.
blessing. Hello. Hi, what's your name?
Aurora.
Aurora. I love that name.
Yes.
We were wondering when you were going to come over.
Yeah.
Have you heard this story? Your mom tell this story before? Mm-hmm. Does it have a happy ending?
I don't remember.
Well, she's just talking about when you were a baby and Daddy Chris had already died, and I was trying to take care of you and Abby by myself. Does that have a happy part after the sad parts?
Yes, it does. It does. It does. It does.
Does happy stuff happen after sad stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, you two made a big difference in Mommy's life. You were like the breath that she breathed every day. It like made her remember the joy that still existed in the world, right? And that hope that you gave Mommy gave her the strength to heal and then grow from that. And then we speed up, and now you're raising 2 children, and some years go by and you decide that someone wants to introduce you to someone.
Yeah.
And what was that kind of, because I can tell you, when people started introducing me, it wasn't such a great idea to me.
Yeah. Well, I dated a guy in 2017 for most of the year, and that ended terribly. The week my grandmother and my aunt died, he broke up with me a few days later. So I was like, I don't need boys. Like, I'm good. Like, no more dating for me. And then my friend Jenny,
Uh-huh.
that I worked with in OB, she and I had become close over the years of working together. And she pulled me aside in the break room, and was like, hey, I know this guy at church. He's a really good guy. He's a single dad. I think you two should meet. And I'm like, no. and she's like, just you don't have to go on a date with him. You could just you could talk. Maybe worst case scenario, you get another friend out of it who's also a single parent. And I was still like, no. But finally, she just wouldn't let up. She was relentless. So I said, okay, fine. You can talk to him about me. So and then he ended up
to him.
contacting me.
Oh, really?
Later. Now you could tell how it was for you.
Okay, so I have to know, what did she say about Aimee? Like, what was she doing the same thing to you?
She was doing the same thing to me. Just basically trying to, sell Aimee and wrap her up and make her look all nice and stuff. And I wasn't. I also was not interested in dating anybody. I had been living the single life for some time. I was happy. I was content, and I didn't want anybody coming and disrupting that.
Right.
Yeah. So
we're like, I kind of figured things out, and that we're moving along, and relationships do. They take time, they take effort, they take availability, space.
I wasn't about it. Yeah, I was comfortable. And when I first met Aimee, or was going to meet Aimee, like in my head, I was thinking, okay, I'm just going to do this obligation. I'm going to go out and meet this girl, go out with her one time, and then we'll be done. That was my thought. And then we went out, and we have a lot of things in common, and we're talking all night, and we're like the only ones left in the restaurant. And I left there really mad.
He was mad that he
Be-
had fun.
Because I'm like, this is not what I planned. I wanted this to be a one and done. And now I'm like, I think I want to go out again. Like, I wasn't prepared for that. But so no, I mean, we went out again, and we hung out at another restaurant, and we were there for like 6 hours that time.
At a coffee shop.
Little coffee shop. And then yeah, as time went
People
on,
are like, they're never gonna leave. What is up with that couple over there?
yeah.
Well, they made us move. We were in the back section of the coffee shop, and then they wanted to clean that part up. So they asked us if we could move to the front, and we're like, okay. And then, yeah, once again, we were closing a business out.
So I have to ask, are you a Cardinals fan?
I am a Cardinals fan. I've been watching the Cardinals since I was like 4 or 5 years old.
That's another thing we have in
So, I mean, all the way back with like Ozzie Smith and Willie McGee. Yeah, like way back.
Well, I personally think Busch Stadium is the best stadium of all stadiums.
Absolutely.
It's beautiful.
But anyway, aside from that, like, see, now I can see Aimee. I mean, he's a Cardinals fan. I mean,
Well, yeah.
that was points straight up right there. And then she was a Cardinals fan. I mean,
Yeah, when I told my mom, I said, Mom, he not only likes the St. Louis Cardinals, but he likes UK basketball. And my mom's from Kentucky, so she was like, well, you can marry him then.
oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So this whole, like, you guys had these other plans, and then this friend,
Yes.
what was the friend? Jen? Your friend?
Jenny, yeah.
Jenny is what we call a golden friend at Modern Widows Club. Someone who walks that journey with us and just walks it with us, right? And is always there looking. It's like a lot of what I do at MWC is, I see the potential in believing in someone's future. And that's what Jenny was for both of you guys. I love that. I mean, she must be like over the moon excited for what's happening here, right?
Oh, yeah.
Surely she won huge bonus points in heaven.
I think so. Yeah.
So you guys dated, and it seemed like, things were moving forward, but to be honest, Dawn, it's like she has 2 kids and 2 daughters, and you have a daughter, and okay, so you raised your daughter. You were single dad, right?
Yes.
Okay, so fast forwarded, and you 2 end up getting married, and Dawn, you surprise her, right? To get in to propose.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you get married, and now you have a family of 5, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, but there was something missing there, and you wanted to adopt Aimee's 2 daughters, right? So talk a little bit about that process, because I think blending, the mending and the blending of families is something that a lot of our, I didn't do that with my daughters, because I'm getting married this year, and it's, they're in their 20s now. So I never went through that, but I have walked that journey with a lot of other widows. So tell us, was it easy? Was it what you thought it was going to be? What are your thoughts about when you all were in one household and now you're a family? When did the idea of adopting come up?
Well, it came up. We were pretty serious for a while before we got married. So we had kind of talked about that beforehand. And, oh, that's pretty. Aurora's got a picture she's showing me.
Oh, okay. She want to show.
Here.
Oh, hello. Oh, nice.
Yes. And, Don said, yeah, at the time that we got married, he'd be comfortable with that idea and everything. And, I mean, as a single parent, like, one of the most precious things you can hear from the person you're dating is that they love your kids.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
the first time he said that to me when we were on the phone, I started like bawling.
Right.
To know that what he said was that he loved them just the same as he loved his own daughter. And so I was just like sobbing.
And that is, you know, for people who, you know, solo parents like us being widowed, I would always say it's not even just about someone loving me. It's about,
Right.
because it's me is actually three. There is no separation between me and my daughters. We're a package deal, and unless we're all accepted and loved and treasured and cherished, it's not going to work for me. And
Right.
that
Yeah,
I know exactly that. Yeah, Don.
and like me being a single dad for so long, like it was, you know, always Nevaeh and myself, you know, like we had this really deep bond, this really deep connection, like we have ever since she was born. And you know, she's always been a daddy's girl, and like women coming in the picture was like, that was a no. Like she did not want no part of that. So like you know, with Aimee, I'm like, well, you know, if this doesn't go well with Nevaeh, like this isn't happening, you know. I mean, I was pretty content with that, you know, and Nevaeh seemed to like her right off the bat, and like everything went well, and you know, Nevaeh didn't push her off a cliff or anything. So.
No. and the kids like clicked immediately too.
Right.
And neither one of us knew 100% how that would go.
No.
Nevaeh was 11 and Abbi was 5 and Aurora was 3 when the girls all met. But yeah, like immediately Nevaeh was so sweet with them. She'd play with them. She'd help with stuff with them when she was here. And that was hugely impressive to me as well.
I think that says too a lot about you too as parents, right?
Yeah.
Because I know that when you're, how do I say this? It's like when you're an only parent, it's a much more heightened experience of I get one chance with my kids. And so the idea of someone being in their life, it just doesn't work. It's just like, no, we'll just be a solo, you know, rather than having a maybe person, you know, you're either yes, and let's do this forever, or no. And so you two were like that for each other. And so I have to believe that that's the example you were actually showing for your daughters too. And that's what daughters need to see. They need to see unity, and they need to see bonding and exhibit love being exhibited. You know, with the way Dawn treats you is the way that they're going to now then look for a partner in the future. That's the and it just having you being a nurse, and I actually, Dawn, I don't know what your background is, except that you're qualified to adopt.
Yes.
You're a single dad. But child psychology, I mean, we had to take psychology and nursing. And so I remember that was one of the really things that was really serious for me, is that I know the statistics of raising children solo as opposed to having two parents, and I couldn't, you know, just make that happen. You don't go to, like my daughter said when she was little, can we go to Daddy's R Us and get a new daddy? Like she just didn't know.
Yeah.
You know, kids are so innocent with the things that they say, and they want to know why daddy left his clothes, and you know, those sweet little things. But like Dawn, so one of the things, you know, we were talking about before this call was the whole adoption process, because I've never adopted myself personally, and maybe a lot of people haven't that's watching this. But I just thought it was interesting, some of the stuff that you shared about the woman who was in charge of actually analyzing whether you were worthy to adopt. I would just love for you to share a little bit about that background of the, like, okay, we're going to adopt. Now what happens after that?
Yeah. So like, you know, we met this woman, and, you know, she's talking to us when we're both there together at first. And then she wants to talk to me with just her and I. And, you know, she starts asking me questions about, you know, starts off with why are you qualified to adopt these kids? I'm like, whoa, I'm like, that's just coming right after it, and, and I told her, I was like, well, I said, I've been a dad for 13 years already. And she's like, oh, you have? And I'm like, wow. I'm like, yeah, I have a daughter that's 13. I've been a single dad pretty much the whole time. So I've kind of been doing this thing for a while. Oh, well, that's really good. She starts writing notes down. I'm like, okay. And then she's like, so what's her name? I didn't even know her name. I was like, oh, it's Nevaeh. So I go to tell her how to spell Nevaeh. Oh, I know how to spell it. I'm like, okay. And then she goes to write it down and she spells it wrong. I'm like, no, it's not right. I mean, it's just so crazy. I mean, this woman was just so into like what she was doing, and she asked me questions about like, how long have you been employed? And I tell her, well, I've been at the same place for almost 15 years. And, I've been doing this thing, asked about criminal background stuff. And I'm like, no, because I've had a few traffic violations when I was younger, but yeah, I mean, she was trying to find anything she could to like, make sure that I was not the guy, the way it seemed.
Yeah. I mean, like we realize that as a guardian ad litem, most of what she does is probably looking into really difficult situations, and she's looking out for the welfare of children that maybe don't have solid parents in their life. But it did feel like a bit much when he's been a father this long, not had any DCFS involvement. Like, I think he's fit to parent these two kids.
My kids.
Yeah. So
my biological kids are now going to be our kids.
Right. Yeah.
It was just it was really crazy for me. Like they like she was not trusting Amy's judgment. Like, oh, well, we need to find out that you made the right decision. Let me interrogate you. Yeah, it was just crazy. But what was even wilder than that though is like, so after we go through all that, then she wants to do a house visit where she comes and sees me interact with the kids. And it was like a completely different woman. She's all like calm and chill, smiling. I'm like, who are you? Like, this is not the woman that I've seen in that office. Like,
you're like, I'm not sure if you're fit to adopt.
Right. Well, yeah, she asked him when she had him alone about my mental state. Ooh. She's like,
yes.
She's like, now Amy's been through a lot, and so
I know the answer to that question.
And because I mean, hey, these are my kids. We're not putting on trial whether or not I can keep them in my care. Like, but yeah, that when he told me like afterward that she'd asked that, I was like really frustrated with that. And plus, I mean, yeah, I've been through a lot. Yeah, I've got some problems, but like I have enough up here going on that I wouldn't let just anybody keep my kids, and certainly not to adopt them.
And if I would have been in on that conversation, I would have informed her straight up that nobody that I know out of the thousands of widows I know get to do it perfectly, right?
No.
You do the best you can with what you have at the time. And I understand, the screening, but it's like, wow, to put your mental state under question like that.
Yeah.
She didn't ask about my
no, she didn't ask me about his, but she asked him about mine.
He's going to become the defender because he's a good man, right? They're probably looking more for how he's going to react to you being not really thrown under the bus, but analyzed. Like they want to see how he's going to react. So you obviously passed the test.
We did.
It's interesting that you were telling me about her and you're like, oh, making small talk, like what ages are your kids? And what'd she say?
She said, we don't have any children yet. We're focusing on our careers right now. And I'm like, oh, so like you're extremely qualified to do this is what I'm thinking. Like, yeah, interrogate me.
I think that would be a really hard job to have, to assess someone's ability as a parent and an adoptive parent when you
Yeah.
actually have never parented any kids yourself. But I'm, you know, that was really surprised that you mentioned that.
Yeah, it's like I manufacture car parts all day, you know. I'm not gonna like tell Aimee, hey, you're doing that wrong, or hey, that's the wrong medication, or, you know, because I'm not qualified.
Right, right. I would have thought that that may have been maybe a qualification to get that job, but I guess not.
You would think so.
Yeah.
You would think
You
so.
would think so. But so they put you, you know, under the, and now how long did that process go? Like the interviews and the home visits?
A long time.
Like,
Yeah. I think like once, so we first met with our lawyer, and then he had to like speak with the judge about whether or not we needed the guardian ad litem.
Mhm.
And so then the judge said yes, he wanted it. And then they had to like contact her and her get back to us, and then set a time for a meeting at her office with just the adults. And then we had to set a meeting at our house with the kids here.
Mhm.
And then after that, I think it was about 6 weeks before she finished her report. She wanted to call and talk with a bunch of people. So like she spoke with Chris's mom. She spoke with my mom. She spoke with Dawn's mom. And we're like trying to think like who are the people who can like best speak to his judgment as a parent. So we offered, like, we spoke with his ex-wife and asked, can we give your information to her? And she's like, well, sure. So she spoke with his ex-wife, and because they co-parent together beautifully. So, you know,
Nice.
but yeah, she just, and there were even a couple more people than that this lady called and then wrote up an 8-page report. And,
and you
then
got to read the
after-
report that she wrote?
we got to read it. And it was in depth. There was a full paragraph for each person she talked to and what they said. And there was something on like her home visit, and the kids seemed comfortable with Dawn, she said.
Mhm.
It was all very positive, but it was very long.
It must have been stressful too, because at any point, like if someone threw a tantrum, or let's say, I don't know, anything, you know.
Said something crazy.
Yeah, just something, you would have been on pins and needles for this not to happen, something that you
Right.
want really for your family. Because I think, you know, a lot of people don't go through this process because sometimes they think the process of adopting is going to be so grueling.
Yeah.
Is that process basically the same as if you're adopting someone who's not, I don't know, biological? Is the process sort of similar? I mean, I'm just curious why couples
similar.
are getting married, especially like widowed couples, and they want, is that not a different, like a pathway? That's not a different pathway?
I think it would, if it's not the biological child of either of them, it would be a little bit different process. Like I think they have to do home visits first, and they have to have all this stuff like filed before a child is placed in their home.
Okay.
But like I have a friend
What were
who,
some of the things they said about Dawn that were really good? Interviews.
well, I mean, my mom, gosh, I can't even remember, but she was all for this. So she said all these wonderful, glowing things about how great he was for the kids, how, you know, he would put them in timeout if they needed it, and how much they really loved him. And then Chris's mom, she also had good things to say. And, you know, that was really important to me too, when I was thinking about dating. Yeah. I spoke with, her name's Charlene. I spoke with her before I ever went on any dates after this death, and just told her like, hey, this is something that's probably going to happen. And I also had to sit down with her and let her know, like, if I do get married, if the right man comes into our lives at some point, it's a possibility that he would adopt the girls and we would give them that last name. And she had tears in her eyes, but she said to me, she said, I'm crying because you have so much love and respect for me that you would talk to me about these things ahead of time.
What a beautiful, unselfish woman.
Yes, she's amazing.
To be there for your, and I think this is what almost every widow that I speak to when there's, I didn't have that experience. I actually had an experience where no one wanted to talk about my future. And it really, I was stuck in that area because you can't get permission from your late husband, right? So the family that's left behind from his side are the ones that have to be there to encourage you and be patient and unselfish. And the families that I have seen that have done a really great job of this are the ones that they have to put their emotions in check, just like I just think that's beautiful, because that's probably not always the case, that you get both right, on both sides, and the son that's gone, right? I just think that's so beautiful. Don't you think that really does help your relationship and to lean in more into it and to create more wholeness and happiness and joy all around? It's not that there aren't going to be emotions and sadness and bittersweet moments. It's just that that's not what you're focusing on. You're focusing on the future that is to come, that God has promised all of us, into the future. If we keep that hope and look towards that direction. And so on your widowed but not abandoned, you have all your scriptures, your James 1:27 there, caring for widows. And I certainly believe that your story was very much that. People really stood up and was there for you, and it made a huge difference. And then being the defender of widows, I mean, that certainly Dawn's straight up. I mean, Dawn, you probably never dated anyone who had been widowed before, is my guess.
No, like I've been with a lot of different types of women and seen a lot of different types of things. But yeah, I mean, this was something I was completely blind going into. I mean, I was really cautious. I was very calculated. And apparently with Aimee over here, I was too cautious and too calculated, because like she wanted to move at a faster pace than what I was moving at, but I was trying to walk on eggshells. I didn't know what I was getting into,
Yeah, I hear from the men who marry our ladies that something about widowed women love really deep. Once they know that it's right and they give their love, I mean, it is like a deeper kind of love, because they actually know what it's like to have lost someone that they loved. And so when they decide, it's a done deal. And so right?
We were 2 months into our dating relationship, and she goes, "So I got something to tell you." And she's like, "You don't have to say it back," but she's like, "I'm completely in love with you." And I'm like, "But what?" That was almost enough to be like, "Nope," but I stuck with it. I'm like, well, I'm not going to say it because I'm not there yet, but I didn't run away. I didn't get scared.
You got scared.
But I didn't let that make me run away.
See, that's what I see about widowed women. They're like, listen, here's the deal. You're in or you're out. There's no back door.
She was definitely that girl.
No time to waste. Yeah.
Like we're living for now. And my daughter, all of our kids are watching, right? So you need to do some introspection on how you feel. But it's also the whole, it's not, you wanted to be sure, because it's not just her. It's also this family that you would be merging, right? And you're
Well,
someone.
well, yeah, and I was really concerned too, you know, just like with Chris, like, you know, knowing that she's a part of that family and they're still a part of, you know, the kids' lives, and they always would be. Like, I was wondering, like, how are they going to treat me? Are they going to accept me? Are they going to be bitter? Are they going to be jaded? Like, all these thoughts, you know, and they were just very welcoming and just really nice right off the bat. So it's like, okay, this might work out. But I mean, I just came in here with just so many unknowns, you know, but
Right.
it all
So many
worked out.
uncertainties, so many unknowns, and you wake up every day and, you know, you have another experience and another, and you keep building on. And I know a lot of it is sabotage relationships, because it's like, you know, I have to find something that's not going to be right, because then I know that it didn't work, you know, back then. It wasn't working back then. But then when it's right, it's actually exciting and scary all at the same time.
So scary.
Right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of Aimee's defense mechanisms early on were kind of trying to push me away, and I don't think she realized that's what she was doing, but
Right.
that's the kind of way she would respond to things early on, is like, you know, almost trying to push me away, trying to get me to go away, even though that's not what she wanted. But like, she was just, you know, just scared and vulnerable, you know.
Well, that was a protective. That's a survivor.
Yes.
That she's hanging on to that survivor's mode instead of moving into the thrivers. And,
Right.
and it's, you kind of go back into grief. And luckily, Aimee was in a community where we talk about this a lot, where we're like, it's not grief, it's growth, and you need to lean into it, right?
Yeah. Well, I remember telling Jen Fortune, we started the chapter together,
Right.
while I was dating Dawn. I said, Jen, the other night, I just started crying because I was happy with Dawn, and that scared me, because that means he's going to die. And, you know, and so she really was there to kind of try to encourage me, you know, I know it's scary to be happy, but you've got to let yourself feel that too. And it's okay. Like, and that's normal, and I get it. And I'm like, okay. I think that's one of the beautiful things about Modern Widows Club too, is just knowing that what you're thinking and feeling, even though it wouldn't be rational for other people, is a totally normal thing for a widow.
Yeah, and like, you know, when Aimee started like dating me, you know, I think there was a lot of her that kind of like felt like she was ready to date again, that she was in a comfortable spot, that she was good. And then by dating me and getting comfortable with me, like, I think it kind of opened up a lot of those wounds and things that were not healed yet. So like, we got to kind of process and work through that stuff together. So.
And we still are.
we still are. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you always will be, right? Because trauma, it is, we're working through, always. It's always going to be through. And the kids at different ages, I can tell you that just with my daughters, it's different when you're in your 20s, when you move away from home, it's different. It's, and so you guys have all this joint, you know, love and joy and this faith in God. And then you have finally, well, Adoption Day got pushed back, right? Because of COVID.
Yes. So yeah, we started the process, I think in November, December was our first meeting with our lawyer. And then we were supposed to finalize in March, but we finalized instead in August. So
thank you, COVID.
Yeah, I know. One more thing.
Right? Okay, so where's the girls? So you guys had a really big, so Adoption Day consisted of what? Give us like a little short version of like what the process was. I don't know.
Yeah, well, the hearing itself had to be on Zoom. So our judge said that was his first adoption hearing on Zoom ever. And we just had the 5 of us sitting on our couch, and on the Zoom meeting was the judge, our lawyer, and the guardian ad litem. Both Dawn and I had to swear in, and swear that, yes, we thought this was the best thing for the kids, and yes, we wanted to do this, and that we both understand that this gives him custodial rights if anything ever happened between the two of us, and also inheritance for him now that they're adopted. And then, you know, they just asked, like, the guardian ad litem, what was her opinion? She said, everyone seems happy with it. It seems good. And then that was about the end of it. It was like maybe 10 minutes long.
Like all these months worth of work and
Yes.
and you're like, then we get on a Zoom call and 10, 15 minutes later, it's done.
Right. Yeah.
That's so bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
then
then,
somebody had the idea to get this unicorn sprinkler something. Who picked that unicorn sprinkler?
who picked that up? Do you remember?
Mama.
I did.
Mommy picked it out because she must know you guys really well.
What, sweetie?
I was doing laundry and then you said I could.
Oh, you can go work on your laundry again if you're ready to, or you can finish it tomorrow.
Wait, can I ask you a question?
Can Carolyn ask you a question?
Real quick. How was adoption day?
Great. And we got balloons for adoption day.
You did?
Grandma got a big cookie cake and she put frosting on top. And she brought the balloons here.
Yes.
How many cookies did you eat?
Well, it was a cookie cake, so she had like one big piece, and
It was giant.
it was big.
That big? Show me how big.
I think this big.
So what do you call Daddy Don? What do you call him? I don't know.
I call him Daddy.
Daddy
Yeah.
and Mommy.
Yeah.
You're so lucky to have your daddy there and your sisters and your unicorn and obviously your mommy.
Yeah. Well, and she prayed for a long time for a daddy,
Oh.
and so did Abby. Hey, Abby, come here.
Mm-hmm.
So Abby, who
Hi.
was our toddler when Daddy Chris died, she started praying at about 2.5 for a new daddy every night.
I used to be playing for new daddy too, and I want to show you something.
Okay, show me something.
These aliens are funny because in Toy Story 1, they're like the class.
I want to know, when you prayed for a daddy, did God send Don?
Did he send Don to you?
Yes.
Really? What's your favorite thing about Don? Is he a great cook, or what is he?
No, he doesn't cook it.
Oh, are you guys laughing about that? He's not a good cook? No?
No.
He just doesn't really cook.
But what I like about Daddy is that he answers our prayers.
He
And that,
prayer.
and that he's nice to snuggle.
Oh, he's a great snuggler. There we go.
Hey, Aurora, come here.
That's everything.
What do you like about Daddy Don?
Yeah.
Or what do you like doing with him?
I would like doing anything with her.
She likes to wrestle and play fight with Daddy.
Oh, she likes to wrestle because Daddy does taekwondo or karate.
He does all sorts of mixed martial arts.
Okay, because
So,
I used to do
yeah.
taekwondo, so I'm respect.
Gotcha.
Love,
Yeah,
I love
so
discipline.
he's teaching them all sorts of stuff.
Oh yeah,
And
well, girls need to learn basic self-defense. And I'll
yes.
tell you something, that discipline, which is what it is, teaches you a lot about observing people and knowing when to respond. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, it always freaks Aimee out. Like we'll be out somewhere or she'll come up and I just have movements because I can't turn them off. And she'll be like, it's just me. And I'm like, yeah, but I can't turn it off.
But see, it's fun for me to like pick at him and be like, did you think a ninja let themselves into our bedroom? I mean, it's just your wife.
And she has a little bit too much fun with it.
yeah. Yeah, but you got to admit it, Aimee, you feel very protected.
Yes, I do, for sure.
Well, I want to thank you guys so much for coming on the call tonight. Now, I have one question. Look at that, they're being goofy over there. This is a normal night, right? I mean, this is normal evening. So,
Yeah.
Aimee, I didn't know if you have a Streams in the Desert devotional. Do you have that?
Oh, I don't know if I have.
By Abbi Aurora, because if you don't, I actually want to get you one.
Well, sure, that would be great.
This is absolutely hands down. It was written by a widow, and it's one of the, it was given to me by one of my mentors, and so I wanted to send you a Streams in the Desert, and as a thank you for being on the call. And I'm
Absolutely.
so happy for both of you guys. I mean, I just see all of you going to St. Louis Cardinal games next year. And
Yeah.
and we're actually going to, I didn't tell you guys this yet, but we've already sent in a request to throw a baseball and be a charity, a nonprofit that's featured. And
That's
so
awesome.
we're actually already working on that. So when that actually happens, we're gonna have 500 Modern Widows Club supporters in Busch Stadium. And
That's awesome.
and I'm going to get my childhood dream of throwing the first pitch at a game.
Yes.
That's awesome.
That's amazing.
So, when it's funny because I was working with someone, they're like, oh, why don't you ask the Cardinals? And I was like, oh, you can do that? I didn't even know. So Modern Widows Club, it's amazing when you start walking in the direction that God sends you in, the things that happen because of that you could never have predicted.
Right.
Obviously, I'm engaged, and I met him because he found Modern Widows Club.
Right.
We do. So it's, Aimee, Dawn, you didn't know, but in the background, and I'm sure she told you, at Modern Widows Club, we are just honored because our ladies do heal, and we encourage them to become the woman that would be your future wife. And so you are extremely blessed to have found, and I'm not surprised Aimee didn't make her decision very quickly, because awesome guy. And I just love the blessings that God has placed upon your whole family and your extended family, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know if you want to say anything. I know the kids are getting restless, so this means it's time to end.
Probably just one last thing that's like really beautiful about our story. When Chris's visitation was going on, there was a giant double rainbow in the sky, and it looked like it landed right over the place in the church where his body was.
Wow.
And so that was beautiful and amazing on a very painful day. Then the day Dawn and I get married, no forecast for rain, none. We get like 10-15 minutes of light rain, and our ceremony was outside, our reception was outside, but just 10 or 15 minutes light rain, and then we get that same double rainbow in the sky. And so we're all out there taking photos with it. And one of Chris's grandmothers, when she came to give me a hug at the wedding, she said, Aimee, I was already happy for you. I already like felt like this was the best thing. She said, but I feel like Chris is smiling down on you guys from heaven. And so it was just beautiful to have God's promise in the sky both of those days.
Right, and I agree. There's those moments that are very hard. That message that comes of peace and of contentment, and we see those signs. You know, they're very, very clear to us, because how could you not? A double rainbow and a double rainbow on those particular days.
Right.
Well, I thank you. I know the girls are getting restless there, but I just want to thank you so much for sharing your story. I'm going to stop recording here, and then we can.
Okay.
But thank you so much. And I'm going to send you that Streams in the Desert.